Hey, what did you talk about this week?
Welcome back to the Corporate Kitchen. I'm your host, Tiger. This week, we've been talking about dating, to mix or not to mix those foods. Do you put pineapple on your pizza? Do you put ketchup on your eggs? That last one's a little nasty. Don't put ketchup on your eggs. Put hot sauce on there. If you put ketchup on your eggs, I won't judge you. It's fine. It's fine. But now we're at the table. And wait, what? I'm supposed to give you examples of when I dated people in the office? That's a setup question. And I don't answer setup questions. We're going to make that the first action. It should be almost a bonus, but we're going to make that the first action. Do not answer setup questions. What's a setup question? When your spouse says, "Hey, honey, does this dress make me look fat?" Now, if you say yes, I hope you wake up tomorrow. If you say no, I still hope you wake up tomorrow because it could be interpreted if you say no, that dress does not make you look fat. They may say, "Oh, so you're calling me fat and the dress is just not making me look like that?" Da 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 da. That's a setup question. Yes and no were the two options that you thought were available to yourself. And regardless of which one you chose, you were wrong. So what's the best way to handle that situation? Don't engage. Hit the abort button. I tell my wife all the time, that's a setup question, and I don't answer setup questions. Don't put me up against the wall like that. This will happen to you in corporate where people ask you questions that puts you up against the wall, and it's whatever answer you give is absolutely the wrong answer. Don't engage. Hit the abort button. Immediately disengage in the situation and don't get caught up. And it's quite hilarious seeing people that are totally oblivious to what's going on. And you've seen those examples when someone says something and you hear the answer and it almost makes you go, "Oh, ooh, I sorry, you're going to be in trouble." So first action item, a bonus, don't engage. Don't engage. But in all seriousness, I've never actually dated a coworker, so I don't have firsthand experience on this. I do have firsthand perspective on spectating people that have gotten together. Two situations I want to bring up specifically. One, very excited to share. Obviously, I never give names when I give this story, but I've known this person for a very long time, and I've watched their relationship with a colleague from start to now very happily. It's not finished. Their story has not been fully told yet. So the chapter they're on right now is married with beautiful children. It was a great story to see from the initial flirting, dating, getting to know each other to the point of moving in, to the point of relocating together, and just the continuation of building their relationship. They were able to do it despite the fact that they were colleagues in the workplace. And it's funny talking to this person because they are one of the people that said, "I would never date a colleague." And then it came to, "I'm open to dating a colleague for the right one." And then they found the right one. They, and that's where at Tuesday we were talking, it's a spectrum. People would say they're hard yes or hard no. Everyone has a price. Everyone has a limit. It's a threshold thing. Once the right one walks your way, boom, threshold met, and all of a sudden we change sides. That's what happened to this friend, but it worked out. It worked out. I know Tuesday we may have made it seem like dating a colleague is a little somber and dangerous, but with high risk comes high reward. And this first example of the person I know got all the rewards in the world plus some. And to this day, they are still together. They are going strong, happily married. Again, they have children together, beautiful children. it was amazing to see, and it still today is amazing of how their relationship has blossomed. One of the key things that really helped their relationship, it's not going to work for everyone, but it's something that I did see that really helped their relationship, is that they were able to separate the work from the personal life. They didn't really intermingle it, or I said that word wrong. They didn't really intertwine the two separate categories. Although when they had conversations, one person knew exactly what the other person was saying, all the way up to the group and the function that the conversation was focused on. But they made a conscious effort to make sure that they don't do that a lot, that they really, outside the office, focus on their relationship and they're two people, not two colleagues. So it could work for you. It's just something I wanted to bring up because I saw it from firsthand. And again, from soup to nuts, I saw when they started dating to where they are now in their chapter of their beautiful life. So you know who you are if you're listening to this. Very proud of you. Very happy for you. Love you both very much. And I'm so happy I was there for the entire moment. And I will continue to be there moving forward. Another person that I knew, and this is going to be a lot more relatable to those people early in their career. I have another friend who started their career in a rotation program. This is very common in a lot of industries to join a functional rotational program, whether it's for HR, for finance, for engineering, program management, supply chain / operations. There are a lot of companies with prestigious rotation programs. So I'll give a quick plug to that. If you have an opportunity to date a program, do that. If you can date a rotation program, and I mean that like metaphorically, if you have an opportunity to really, if you get offered a rotation program as an opportunity to start your career, do it. Two main things about that. One, it will expose you to a lot of different disciplines and functions of the organization in a short period of time. But more importantly, two, the companies that host these types of programs use it as a farming technique. When I say farming, it's the development of talent. They will use it as their prestigious opportunity. And once you graduate from those types of programs, you're like stamped as a company lifer forever. 3-4 years into your career, and they're already anointing you and knighting you company man. So it's a nice thing to have, nice boost. It will separate you from your peers who haven't went through that program. If you can, definitely do it. I have a friend that went through one of these types of programs at a company and met someone. They started dating. They were a little low key when they first started dating, but they did start it dating. I knew the friend very well, so I got told directly that this was happening. And they have built their relationship over time. What was really cool about theirs is that it stood distance as well. One thing that is true about rotation programs is that there may be a requirement to relocate for a period of time. There may be a rotation that's not held at the main facility or the facility that you started the first rotation or your career at. Their relationship withstood the distance that was created by the movement in the rotation program. I believe they both actually had to move. One person north, the other person south. And they spent a long period of time away from each other, but they made their relationship work. And that's really cool because I know from personal experience, long distance relationships are very difficult to sustain and maintain, they were able to do it. Fast forward to today, they're happily married. Another success story, another fairy tale ending of two colleagues getting to know one another, fostering that relationship, and growing it to an entire family. They don't have children yet, but once you create that household together, you're a family now. It's you two against the world. So I'm very happy and proud of you two if you're listening to this, because you know who you are. I'm proud to see the growth, but it was really cool that you two were able to overcome the distance factor. That's normally super hard. If it's not a deal breaker for people, they end up finding it during the process, and it could lead to some ugly breakups, but you overcame that challenge, and that's awesome. You two stayed strong, stayed committed to one another, and today happily married. So congrats to you two. Very happy for you both. But those are two examples that I have of my first, I won't call it firsthand, I'll call it first sight experience of watching relationships foster. And with those two, the key takeaway is the key action. This is the table. We're not doing takeaways. I'm sorry. We're doing actions. The action is be happy. You deserve to be happy. Be happy. As we talked about in the kitchen, there are over 8 billion people in the world. But how you meet your spouse, your future loved one, the majority, we Pareto that data, it's only a single handful of ways. Because we are adults now and we're no longer in school every day, work is a huge portion. Don't cut yourself short if you're open to it. You deserve to be happy. And if you find someone in the office who you believe you could be happy with, and they mutually feel that way, you two should explore it. It's definitely something that happens a lot and could foster into not just a relationship, but the generation of a family. So it's cool. And it's pretty cool also to see in certain companies when you have like a mom and a dad and the next generation all working at the same company. Again, it's something you got to be careful with if you do decide to date a colleague. Make sure their folks don't work in the company, or if they do, you're aware of that. But outside, not engaging in that, it is pretty cool to see families that are fully engulfed in a certain company through multiple generations. It's cool. But the key to all this, and the second action we have to talk about, we talked about it a little bit in the kitchen. We're going to bring it back because I really got to hammer this down for you. Like we got to take out the meat tenderizer and really slap this down. Verify your work policies. Don't do stupid stuff. Like, verify your work policies. If you're in the same functional group and the colleague you want to date reports to the same supervisor you do, can you still date that person? Is it within your workplace policies to date someone that's not your boss, but also reports to your boss? Got to check it. Just check the rules, make sure that you're okay, you're clean. The worst thing that can happen, let's back up. I won't say it that way. I would say the worst thing that we don't want to happen, and this is like outside of losing your job, we're not going to that extreme. We're talking in terms of finding your love of your life. The worst thing that can happen is you find that person, and then you got to fight the company policies where it's like, oh, this is my colleague. It's not my boss. It's someone that I work with, and we report to the same functional group, and there's a policy that says you can't do that. And it's like, you have to make a choice there, right? Do one of you change jobs so that you can be compliant to the policy? Do you not explore it? I would hate for you to meet someone who you think is great and it's like, oh, we can't do it because workplace policies. And I know some people are just like, man, forget those policies. We gonna try it anyway. And I understand that if you want to take that risk, absolutely do that. But we are talking about work. This is your money here. I don't want your money to be at an unknown risk. I don't want your employment to be at an unknown risk. Know your workplace policies. With that being said, though, we have seen plenty of examples of news articles in which people did not follow their workplace policies, and there have been consequences to that. Obviously, I'm not going to say anything specific. I'm just going to say general like that and say that if you've never seen it, do some Google research on your personal computer. Don't do that on your work computer. And look, and it happens a lot where people have inappropriate relationships and they're inappropriate against company policy. Sometimes they are also deemed socially inappropriate. Like if you're a manager and you're dating your subordinate or a direct subordinate, or you're a subordinate and you're dating your direct manager, that is sometimes frowned upon socially. And usually from a company policy standpoint, that gets frowned upon too. And to the point that they may take disciplinary action with you on it. And that's your money. That is your money. I want to keep dollars in your pockets. I don't want you to I don't want you to have unknown risks to your finances. If you choose to go into a relationship, just know what your workplace policies are. If you choose that way you're covered, or you just understand what the risks are and you choose love instead. And then that's okay. If that's what you personally choose, just be careful. I don't want you to mess with your money too. Now, if you're being a super jerk and you're just being totally inappropriate in the office and, disobeying all the rules, you're going to get what you have coming to you. That's just what it comes down to. And the public articles that you will look up on your personal computer, again, for people that have made these mistakes, you see it, and it's usually the most inappropriate of types of relationships of a executive leader that's dating a direct can't even talk today. An executive leader dating and having a relationship with a direct subordinate, which is a huge no-no for, I would say, majority of corporations. Not to mention the workplace is like school, in which everyone knows your business. Everyone knows your business. You think people don't know your business? They know your business. So you think you're dating that colleague in secrecy. Nobody knows about it. I guarantee you a handful of people at minimum know about it. Be careful. Be careful out there. Know your workplace policies and be cool. I do know a couple of examples in which people did not follow the rules and it led to the termination a couple times. And they were not following company rules, and the company deemed the relationship to be inappropriate, and the disciplinary action taken against the person was termination. Unfortunate. I have to assume that the person knew the risks at the time and did it anyway. But it is what it is. I hope for the best for that person and hope they're doing well now. But you do see it happen. And again, sometimes it's in the news. If it's a high enough person, it may actually make the news. Which brings us to our last action. On the point of seeing some of this in the news, you have to remember that just like in school, how people would know, even though you're trying to hold it a secret, well, everything that you do in the workplace is public. We make jokes about Big Brother watching us, where they're recording your screen, seeing what you're doing on your screen. Are you truly just wiggling the mouse, or are you actually clicking and working? They're tapping your phone. We make those big brother jokes all the time because we say someone's watching and someone always knows. That is also very applicable to your relationships where the public knows. With that being said, the action 3 is to make boundaries and protect yourself. I know a couple people that have done this where they set boundaries and set certain criteria where, hey, I'm going to date this colleague and we work in the same building, but I don't want to cross paths with you. Like, I don't want to have lunch. We're on two opposite sides of the building. I will drop you off when we come in, drive to the other side, the parking lot on the other side of the building, and I will work for my side of the building. But let's not interact with each other. Let's not Skype, Team, Zoom, message each other. That the interaction in the office is 0. And then when we leave, I'll get in my car, swing around to the other side of the parking lot, pick you up, and then we can go home as a married couple. For them, it worked. For them, it worked setting those boundaries and drawing that line of once we're inside, we're just two coworkers. And for others, it's like, no, we're going to have lunch together. We'll sit down and we'll be having lunch and it's okay if we talk and all that other stuff. It depends on the boundaries that you want to set. It's not right versus wrong in terms of boundaries, except if you're talking about violating company policy. All right, like don't be going in conference rooms. Like this is not the 70s anymore. But if you want to engage your spouse, the person you're dating who's a colleague in the office, that's a boundary. Set that boundary, determine what's right for both of you, and do that. But when you go to set your boundaries, make sure you're doing it with the mindset of protecting yourself and your relationship. Don't expose yourself to unnecessary risk. If you have the intent of keeping your relationship secret and you don't really want other people to know the person doesn't work with you, then you shouldn't be walking down the hallways holding hands, sort of thing, right? That would be contradictory to the goal and the boundary that you wanted to set forward. Just be aware of that. Set your boundaries and make sure that you're in a position that you protect yourself. I've seen a couple of public breakups that were like really, really nasty, and everyone in the office was aware. Some people love a good can't talk today. Jesus, that's part 2. I can't talk. We can't talk at all today. Some people love a good office gossip. I am one of those people. I love office gossip. I will have some water cooler conversations with some people to figure out what the grapevine says, what's the scoop. And let me tell you, when people are dating, colleagues are dating, and they break up and it is a messy breakup, does that word travel? Everybody knows about it. You may have the most random people talking to you about it, and it is like, wow. I heard about someone breaking up at a facility that I wasn't even working at. It was a total separate facility. They were like, did you hear about such and such's breakup? I'm like, that's not here. They're like, no, that's at the other facility, like 7 states over. Like, why do we even know that information? But it was reinforcement to me of, number one, my decision, and kind of solidify my decision of I was on the threshold where I didn't want to date or thought I would never date coworkers. But 2, information is public. Like, it is so public and people find out stuff and you're like, how do you know this information? There's so much gossip that goes around and people will say, oh, it's just gossip. It's just grapevine. It's just rumors. They were built on some type of fact. Something leaked. Someone said something. And 100% of it may not be true, but it's enough to tell a story and get information circulated, and information circulates so fast today. I think that's the biggest difference between working in the 70s and 80s versus today. Back then, something happened. It'll take a solid week before it circulated to a room full of people. You would be lucky nowadays to get out your chair and leave the room before half the company knew. Information can circulate so fast today. Be careful, and you have to treat all your situations like it's public data. Even though you want to keep it G14 classified, you don't want anyone to know that you put pineapple in your pizza, so you're going to make that top secret. You can make it top secret. You can make the boundaries Yankee white. However, people see so much and they talk so fast that you have to protect it like it's almost publicly traded data, that it's publicly available, and work with the mindset of how do you do damage control or manipulate the narrative out there if it's publicly available, and just be prepared for that. You'll never know what someone knows, what someone was told. It could be a bold-faced lie, but if you get caught up with that, that is very hard to undo once it starts circulating. So just be careful, set up your boundaries. And again, if you choose to go down the route of dating your colleagues, it's okay. You deserve to be happy. You absolutely deserve to be happy. I have talked to multiple people that have done this, both successfully and unsuccessfully. Obviously, the successful people will tell you to go for it. Absolutely go for it. And they're an example of that success. And then the ones that didn't, at least the ones I've talked to, it's a mixed bag. Some of them where their relationships didn't work out, they would still do it again. They still are doing it again for some of them, but they would recommend to try it. And it was only a very small percentage of people that I've talked to and they were on the unsuccessful relationship side that said that they would never do it again. So there are more people out there that says go for it than people that says don't. It all comes down to personally how you feel, where you're willing to set the boundaries, and where your company policies lie. If you're in a position that you think your boss is beautiful and you would love to date your boss, you need to check that policy before you make that move. Like that's kind of a little frowned upon in a lot of different companies. And also, there may be disciplinary action. So just be careful. Be careful. It's not to say, you can't date your boss. You're going to hear you shouldn't date your boss. Go change to a different group. Go change the status quo so that you're in a non-compromising position to explore that relationship. With that being said, too, remember that it is a place of work as well. And that's where you get your income and you get your finances. So if you're in a position where your relationship with a colleague gets serious and now you have to choose between work and the person you're dating, that gets hard. I've seen that a couple times too. And this is really important when boundaries come in. The second successful story that I told you about are the two people that were dating in the rotation program. And because the rotation program required some movement, they had to do long distance for a while. If your boundaries couldn't handle a long distance type relationship, but one of you is in a role in which you would have to relocate, or there's a high probability of having to relocate to another facility, gotta be careful with that. Now you could be in a position where you have to choose between, am I going to move with you and find a job in the state that you're moving to and giving up on my potential current employment to find new employment? Or am I going to continue to stay with my same employer and we're just going to have to cut ties? That's why the boundaries is important. It level sets a lot of the factors that could influence a relationship. And a big one, especially nowadays, is relocation. Outside of it being potentially public and what people know and trying to handle that information, I mean, that's a portion that you're just going to have to handle no matter what. But a huge factor when it comes to this is what happens when the status quo changes. The status quo can change from a relocation type that we just talked about. It can also change from a promotion. What happens if you two are on the same level and one quickly goes up the ranks and is a vice president? So now you're a individual contributor, they're a vice president. Let's say hypothetically you're in the same function. You gotta be careful with that. If you all of a sudden move up to a manager, the company could see that as a conflict of interest. So when you go and talk about your boundaries, part of that conversation too is like, how much are we willing to give and take in terms of our careers? And you'll figure it out together. That's the purpose of relationships. If you have a strong one, you'll figure it out together. But last story, I got to talk about the elephant in the room. All the people that are tenured are going to know exactly what I'm talking about. Newbies, this is for you. If you are new to the company and you want to know about some drama, I guarantee you 9 times out of 10, the biggest drama related to a company has to do with intercompany dating. What am I talking about? I'm talking about, did you know person A is dating person B? Oh, that doesn't seem like a big deal. Why do we talk about that? Because person B is married to person C. Judas. There is like so much drama and so many. The number one drama in companies, I kid you not, is improper dating. Just like, and people are watching and they know those relationships that came out. That's like, oh, this is scandalous, right? Just like the TV series Scandal, like literally just like the TV series Scandal. If you haven't seen it, just watch the trailers. You'll get the premise and understand what I'm talking about here. People that have worked in the company, I mean, let's just call it 5 years. You've gotten at least one story of what I'm going to call here improper dating. Person A dating person B. Person B is married to person C. Person C may or may not be working at the same company as A and B, but A and B are definitely working at the same company together, and everyone knows that person B is married. Or, we can get even juicier. Sometimes it's person A, person B are dating. Person B is married to person C, and person A is married to person D. And lo and behold, a couple years later, person A and person B are both divorced and suddenly they're married, right? There is like some nice drama. I'm not saying dwell in the drama. Like I said, the gossip corner's not for everyone, but even the people that it's not for, they're aware of it. Like it's so public that you can't not be aware. And it's not public in terms of their person A and person B are showing off and they're just showing everyone their relationships and they're actively having like an affair or something. But no, it's more so people notice and people start talking and everybody start talking. And when information is talked about, it gets transferred. And then we start whispering and then we tell everyone. And then it's like, hey, why are you whispering? Well, I got to whisper because I can't tell you this out loud. You must know that they're dating. And it's like, who's dating? Person A and person B. Oh, snap. I got to go tell another person and whisper it to another person at the water cooler. And it becomes this whole funnel of communication channels that multiply exponentially, I mean, almost like factorially, and everybody ends up knowing about it. And if you love drama, there's definitely a story. I know about 6 of them. We do not use names at the corporate kitchen. So with that being considered, oh, I just remembered I should tell you about...
Hey, you said last story. Can you wrap this up?
Oof. Okay. I enjoyed working on this menu item with you this week, but let's come to an end while it's still hot. Remember, the ending to one story is the beginning of another. There will be more in store next week at the corporate kitchen. Thanks for listening. I'm your host, Tiger. Until next time.